If you want to use AI in architecture, there's a wrong way to do it and a right way. And the wrong way looks like this. You need to do a rendering for a client. This is a professional rendering that's going to be used as marketing for their project or for their project site. And so you use one of these rendering websites that allow you to place a sketch that you did or an empty 3D model, and you just drop it in there and it gives you a rendering, and then you give it to the client, and now the client is pissed because A, this either looks terrible, or B, it's close, but there's some random artifacts that are floating around that are just so distracting. So then you go back into this program and then tell the AI to fix these, and then it just switches everything completely all on you, and it's just no good. And now you think that AI sucks. Another way that you're expecting to use AI in the correct way, but is actually the wrong way, is to use one of these programs that auto dimension or auto annotate all your drawings or even create sheets. You basically open up the program, you have your model in there, and then you hit generate, generates a bunch of sheets, a bunch of section cuts, and now there's a giant mess of things that you have to do to go through every single sheet and realize that a lot of the views that were generated are just incorrect, and all the dimensions that were added were not up to your standards. So now you have double the work. You have to demolish and then rebuild, right? So that's another wrong way of using AI. There's so many wrong ways that you can use AI. And what I've realized is that a lot of people are using AI in architecture in the wrong ways. And that's why it has such a bad rep with everybody in the architecture community. People think that AI is here to steal architecture jobs. And, there definitely is going to be some sort of evolution that's going to happen to the career as AI starts to advance, because the examples that I mentioned are just AI in its infancy and people trying to use AI incorrectly with a technology that is still in its infancy to do regular tasks and have high expectations of it. And that's why it fails. And that's why everything is turning out the way that it is. So you have to realize that at the moment, AI is not there yet. And it's going to be a few years before it can do these tasks correctly. But believe me, you are going to eventually be able to upload a sketch and it's going to render it perfectly. That's going to happen, right? You are going to be able to have a tool set of AI features that allows you to auto annotate and auto dimension per your standards. That is going to happen. I guarantee it. In the meantime, if you try to do this, it's going to come out horrible. It's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth, and you're going to be one of these guys that says that AI sucks in architecture. So it doesn't suck. You're just not using it to its potential. So let's talk about some of the ways that you could use AI correctly so that it actually benefits you, probably makes you more productive, and will be more helpful. Number one, learning concepts that you're not totally familiar with. Now, we all know, or hopefully we all know, that AI tends to hallucinate. It is getting better, right? But it still does hallucinate quite a bit. So when you ask AI a question, you should take it with a grain of salt. There are certain features out there that are provided by other types of AI that are made to take a PDF, for example, and then give you answers from the PDF only and are not connected to a database from the internet. These are a little bit better, but they can still make mistakes. In the meantime, what I suggest you do is that if you're trying to learn a new topic in architecture, you have AI generate a study guide for you that it references certain books that you have pre-selected. If you don't know what books to pre-select, then what you can do is have AI recommend a few books and then make a study guide with those books referenced. And when I say reference, I mean what chapters will you find this content on? Why this is so good and so helpful is because a lot of us in architecture don't really love to read. We like the idea of reading. We're not great at it. We open a book, we start strong, and then a few days later, we just stop altogether. We did learn a few things, but we didn't really learn what we were looking to learn. So by you creating a roadmap, having AI create this study guide for you, now you're able to stay on track, and you can make it like, let's say, a 6 week study guide program where week by week you tell AI, listen, I want to learn the what goes into window details, right? How do you waterproof windows throughout various types of construction? And I want you to teach that to me, but I don't want you to give me the information. I want you to tell me, create a roadmap for me that I can then focus on learning, like a workout program, right? Like a 6 week workout program. And now I just hunt for the information. And what this does is that it encourages you to actually look for the information yourself, which will help solidify a lot of these things that you're going to be learning throughout the way. And you might find some other stuff that interests you, rather than if you just sat there and had AI feed you the information. So this is a really productive way of using AI in architecture that can help you teach you things, okay? Another great way that you can use AI with architecture, and I use it all the time, is to generate proposals, right? To find out how much you should charge, how long a project will take, etc., etc. Now, I said how much you should charge. A lot of you guys cringe right there because you're like, wait, how's AI going to decide what I charge? Guys, it's just like a boilerplate that you guys are creating. So a lot of times I already have like a standard proposal that I use, and I'll feed it back to the AI. Notice how I say AI and I don't call out things like Gemini or ChatGPT. Guys, which one you use is up to you 100%. If you guys want to know what I use, feel free to reach out in the comments. But really, they're all pretty good. They all have their strengths, and some are better than others. So it's worth experimenting with. But if you are feeding a standard proposal that you have into like a some sort of boilerplate, some sort of template, you're feeding it to AI, and then you're telling it, look, based off of this information, can you generate me another proposal that will contain this information? And then you explain a little bit of the project. And AI is then able to create things like a project description. It's able to create things like a proper heading, right? The proper heading format. It's able to guesstimate how long a project is going to take, either per general information found online or per your own guidelines. Like you could tell it, hey, on previous projects, this was the scope, this is how long it took me, these were some of the challenges I faced, and these are some of the setbacks that I ran into. And it will be able to give you a pretty good skeleton of a proposal. I use this all the time, guys, and I think this is something that you guys should look into if you're not currently using it. Now, I can see that cringe still on some of your faces, guys. You're not forced to use anything that the AI gives you, but it's worth at least experimenting with it, because I promise you that if you get good at using this feature, then you will actually save so much time, and you'll stay very consistent. And a lot of times when you're not really good at understanding how long a project is going to take you or what the fee should be, you can actually ask AI to kind of like simulate this interaction with the client, or simulate what the process will look like, and it'll break it down, guys. It'll even bring up valid questions like how long permitting will take in this jurisdiction, as just an example. So using it for creating standard documents that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, part of your proposal, a lot of times you can even ask it to put a section in your proposal of, like I'm blanking out on what the actual term is, but like the terms and conditions, basically, like any specific things that you want to cover yourself. You could tell it to start adding some of that language into the proposal, and it will do that, and then you can always edit it later. But it does a good job of picking up things that you might have forgotten to add yourself, and then you can always build upon them. So this is such a great and powerful way to use AI on your day-to-day architecture careers. So another way that I use it a lot is I'll go ahead and I'll start up AI on a random day, and let's say I'm doing a task and I might need some help coming up in the future. And this is actually something that just recently happened. I needed help finishing up a project, just some details that I didn't have time to draft myself. But I had the idea and I had some sketches already made. And what I did was I needed a consultant. Now, all my other consultants were a little busy, and so they weren't going to be able to meet the deadline that I needed. So I was like, you know what? Instead of me trying to find someone through some of these other websites and interviewing, what if ChatGPT, which is the one that I use in that specific scenario, actually is able to find someone for me? So this is pretty crazy. I'm still super surprised that this worked. But I asked ChatGPT to find me 5 consultants based on what I needed and to provide me their websites and their WhatsApp numbers. And the reason why I wanted to use WhatsApp is because that's what I have installed in my computer as a messaging platform. So I don't have to be on my phone texting individually and grabbing my phone. I just have everything in one interface on the computer. And so it was actually able to find 5 people, 5 companies rather, and then I just sent them all messages asking if they would be able to do what I needed them to do in the next, I think it was like 7 or 8 business days, and what their fee would be. And they all answered. But before I even sent that message, I reached out letting them know, hey, do you guys do Revit work? Like, are you guys an architecture firm? And all 5 of them were. Because remember, I said AI tends to hallucinate, and it was just such it was so crazy when this happened that I couldn't believe it. I was like, I thought it was just going to send me like 5 different Pizza Hut locations, and it actually sent me a mix between like sole proprietors and actual companies. So I actually ended up hiring one of them, and I still work with them to this day. So that was pretty wild that that happened. um, the moral of the story, guys, here is when you're using AI in architecture, you got to use it in a way that doesn't replace what you're doing, but enhances your work, right? Or it's like think of AI as like an assistant, right? It's like an assistant that you just hired, and your assistant doesn't have all the answers. They're brand new to your company, and so they're not going to know exactly what it is that you want 100% of the time, and they can still make mistakes. So keeping that in mind, you want to give them work that, like for example, a renderer. You wouldn't really give an assistant a rendering job. Like, you should have a rendering company for that. And that's why I say at this moment in time, you shouldn't be giving out render work to your assistant, right? Your AI. Now, obviously, eventually it will get better, but in the meantime, it's not there yet. And notice how I didn't even mention that you can give AI like your sketches to give you some conceptual ideas. Of course you can do that. Everybody knows that you could do that, and everybody does that already. Like, everybody already is using AI at a schematic level. There's nothing wrong with that. But everything else, you should think about it like an assistant and how you could delegate your work. And then finally, one option here that I've used a lot is for finishes. Um, uh, what I mean by that, finishes and fixtures, right? Let's say that you're working on a project and your client tells you that they're looking for a very specific light fixture, or let's say you're working on a project and your client is asking you to find like a specific material or assembly for the exterior cladding of your project that meets their specific needs. These are actual 2 examples that I've run into in the last year with my own clients. So what do? Right? You could Google stuff, but you're gonna have to spend so much time going through each website and all the information there. Get a head start and have your favorite AI create a list of items that fit your needs. So, for example, let's say that you're working on a bathroom that needs a vanity, and this vanity is not centered in the bathroom, but it's up against a wall, right? So it's going to be a corner condition, and the type of faucet that you're going to put in it, the fixture, is a 1-hole. So you need a 1-hole countertop, and you would like some sort of engineered stone at the top or marble, whatever it is, and you would like 1 drawer, maybe 2 or 3 drawers, like you're very specific. You let AI know all this information, and then finally you tell it, I would like you to give me a list of 10 vanities that meet these descriptions that cost under X amount based on what your client's budget's needs are. And it will find you links and images of exactly what you described, guys. It's pretty crazy. And if you've never used this feature before, you are missing out on a huge time saver. And then best of all, right, the cherry on top is whatever it finds you, you can ask it to export it in the form of an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF even. Now remember, it hallucinates. So some of the prices might be off. Some of the vanities might not be for sale anymore. You still have to do your due diligence, guys. Don't go ahead and print this out and send it to your client, because it's just going to confuse the hell out of everybody. You still have to do your part, right? But the point is, if you guys are thinking about the process a little bit, right, on a day to day, this is something I try to do on a weekly basis. I kind of observe what my work week was like, and I start to think what elements could be automated in a smart way, or what tasks could be condensed in a way that saves me more time to spend on more to spend the time on more important tasks, if that makes sense to you. So I think that you guys should be looking at your day to day and see what kind of work you guys do that you could delegate to someone else, and that someone else being AI. And I promise you, if you think about this and you start to be strategic about this, you guys are going to get really good results from the AI, and you guys are not going to feel like this is just a crappy tool, because it's like a hammer. If you use a hammer to saw a tree, you're going to say that a hammer sucks because you're not using it right. See what I'm saying, guys? So as always, go ahead and like this video, and leave a comment if you have any questions that you would like to see me cover in the future in the form of a video. I'll answer it if it's something simple, but if it's something complex, I'll go ahead and make a video and post it. And the reason why I say like this video is because YouTube favors videos that people like a lot. So if any of this information helped you at all, dropping a like will help YouTube promote this video, and then we'll get a chance to grow our channel even further. So till next time, good luck with all of your architectural careers and endeavors, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.